Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Good morning,
sir.
sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so today's session is being live streamed in YouTube. This particular session. Let me welcome.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So let me welcome our
Good
chair.
morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Could you please mute yourself?
Okay.
Okay. So
So today's session is being live streamed in YouTube. This particular session. Let me.
it was a echo. Okay. Anyway, so let's start. So let's welcome the first session of day 2. That is on network publics, identity politics, and new media. And we have with us our colleague from the school, Dr. Tila Kumar from Sociology Department. So we are really happy that he is here. He is always with us whenever, so it is actually it's a very good relationship between our neighboring departments. So we are always we get help, and we are also try to take help from you people. So this is good that we can have Dr. Tila Kumar in this. So just a formal introduction to Dr. Tila Kumar. Dr. Tila Kumar has been teaching at the Department of Sociology, Delhi School of Economics, Delhi University of Delhi for almost about 2 decades by now. Apart from offering courses on history, politics, and sociology and anthropology in India, on sociology of development, on subaltern and Dalit studies, he has extensively worked on Dalit movement and Dalit identity, and also on emerging discourses on Kosal movement, costly nationalism, nationalism and the costly identity. He is currently engaged in finalizing his book on 100 years, 1919 to 2019, of Indian society and on Kosal movement in Western Orissa, with special focus on language rights, development politics, and the demand for a separate state in western part of Orissa. So he is a very active researcher and working a lot, and we love to hear from him. So now just I over the dais to Dr. Tila Kumar, and today there are 3 presentations. So it is up. Please, you can take the procedure, start the procedure. Thank you.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sa, for a generous introduction. It's my really pleasure and privilege to be part of such a topical seminar that the department has, particularly initiative coming from Professor Sa, Aparajita, and Kiran. My dear colleagues, actually, they have actually been working for months actually in grand success of such a seminar. And I must congratulate all of them, and particularly also the participants, the delegates that who have come all over the actually world, one can say, in terms of the plenary and the valedictory session. So one can say that it's really a matter of pride for all of us that even if it is in an online mode, but we have been able to meet each other and talk about some of the core and critical issues of our time. Although, before we begin the presentation and discussion, just a few footnotes that one can say that when we talk about geography and the digital, some of the philosophical mooring, or one can talk about the historical mooring of the whole discourse, could be looked at, moving from at least the 1970s, if one can say. You all must be familiar with, for instance, this American futurist. We know about Alvin Toffler, particularly his Future Shock, which really took a different turn, if you say, in terms of thinking about the changes in the human society, and also in terms of digital revolution, information revolution, communication revolution, and so on and so forth, and the implications that it has for our everyday life. In fact, there is a particular chapter, which is chapter 5, very much dedicated to the demise of geography. I don't know whether anybody has been able to look at, but this is a chapter on the demise of geography, talking about how we have been increasingly becoming new nomads, and the specific way in which the sense of the place is probably withering away. So the idea of the virtual world that we are, if one can say, celebrating all over. Yesterday, we had a number of actually deliberations, and tomorrow will also be their deliberations on many divergent issues with regard to the digital world that we talk about, virtual world. So whether one agrees it or not, but one can hardly discount upon. So one can say that it has in fact really played a critical role in our everyday life as we go on. And one can say that almost every aspects of our human being, human society, something or the other are befittingly part and parcel of what we talk about the digital world, whether one likes or not. Although there are other issues that we talk about, digital divide, and probably there is already a session on digital divide as well. So these are critical issues that we must actually think over and discuss and deliberate upon. And I also must appreciate the multidisciplinary engagements that our organizers have been able to really put before all of us, which really cuts across so many disciplines, whether we talk about biological to that of the social sciences and the engineering and technology that we think about. Now, without much ado, I really welcome to this session. And this is needless to say that this is thematically worked along with 3 papers that we'll be discussing in the session. The core issue that will be coming across in these 3 presentations are on network publics, identity, and new media. And I suppose 15 to 20 minutes should be allocated maybe for the presentation. And we should have much more discussion followed by the presentations. So I really welcome the first presentation of the first session of the day, which is from a PhD scholar from the Department of Geography. I suppose I pronounce it well, Saikong Ham. Is it okay, Saikong Ham?
Okay, sir, it is fine.
Yeah. So he will be speaking on social media, the creation of democratic space and leadership for the Kuki people. So now over to Saikong Ham, and really looking forward to your presentation. 15 to 20 minutes you please take, and then we can discuss over the issues that you laid out before us. So over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible enough. And let me share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah. The topic, as Tila sir just introduced me, is social media, the creation of democratic space and leadership for the Kuki people. And by the meantime, if I'm not audible while I'm presenting, please just let me know. Let's go to the introduction. My work here focuses about Kuki electoral politics in Manipur during the by-election 2020 and general election 2022. An introduction of the Kuki people as a general. They are one among the tribes in India that lives in the northeastern part of the state, mainly in Manipur, I should say. And this topic is about the Kukis, not in any other place, but in Manipur. And when we look at the Kuki electoral politics, there are 4 or 5 institutions or pillars that molds the Kuki society. One would be Hausa. In our dialect, we call it Hausa. In general, we know it as a chief. And the second would be Mi Opa, which would be the senior man of a family. And the third will be civil society organization. And I take here Kuki student organization and Kuki NP Manipur, which is the apex body of Kuki society in Manipur. And the other would be Namsipai, which translated would be Nation's Army or freedom fighters of the community or terrorism for some others. And the last would be Pungletsang, which is clanism. All these institutions, when we look into the Kuki society, they are all intertwined to each other, and it is hard to talk about an institution without touching or talking about any other institution. So when these institutions are highly erected in the family and in the society, the past elections showed that there is the Kuki society is still very far away from free and fair election. And a picture will show you how it is far away from free and fair election. This is a picture of EVM booth somewhere in the constituency of the Kuki people. This bamboo stick is attached with sellotape, and only one candidate button is open to vote. Let's go to the methodology. Methodology would be more or less like my personal experience. I've been the president of Kuki Student Organization Delhi and NCR for 2 terms, 2019, 20 and 2020-21. And this space provides me to really immerse into Kuki society and be within a platform, a social media platform with the leaders of the Kuki society, where I get my first-hand information and idea formation. And the other would be through this experience, it leads me to the command platform, as I already said. And this platform are WhatsApp, Facebook, and YouTube. Let's go to the next slide. I think the slides are moving. And when we look into the Kuki electoral politics, as I already said, the first would be Hausa. Hausa, as we generally call it, it is a chief, is the head in a village institution, accompanied by his council of ministers, which we call it Semang Pachong. The origin of Kuki and Hausa is more or less the same. It is said that once upon a time we come from the bowel of the earth, which we call it as Kul. And there is a Hausa, a chief in that Kul. The younger brother of the Hausa, he moved out from the Kul to be sought and describe the event. or the meats. He came out from the bowel of the earth and settled on the surface of the earth. There's the story about it. And as head of a village, in electoral politics, he has a very high authority. Mm, mm. Whatever he decides and his Semang Pasong decides, perhaps in a general term, is usually followed by the villagers. And sometimes there are also Hangsung Hausa, which we call it as which we would say there's a regional chief. These regional chief are authoritarian over several other villages or Hausas, which once upon a time they are during their grandfather's time. These smaller chiefs lands are given by the Langsung Hausa. And when we look at electoral politics, especially in the last two election, which is in by-election 2020 and general election 2022, the election campaign of every candidate starts and ends in a Hausa. And the second would be Miupa. Miupa is a senior man, the eldest man in a family institution. He inherits the father's or the parents' properties, moreover, the duties of a father. When we look at the family institution, Miupa has the highest authority, and thereby the vote of the family more or less lies in his hand. And there's another thing as well, which we call Pungupa. Pungupa is also coterminous with Miupa, where the Miupa, the eldest senior of a clan, is called Pungupa. And in electoral politics, a candidate usually goes to the Pungupa and seek for his blessing so that his whole clan can support him and vote for him in the election. And civil society organization, which is KSO and Kukin Manipur, under these two branches, there are several sub-branches. And as a personal experience, in the KSO, especially in the general election 2022, there was two opinion arises among them. One is a supporter of a better candidate. They would openly support whoever candidate they feel it deemed to be as a better candidate. And the second opinion would be is from the city branches like in Delhi, Mumbai or Shillong. We collectively oppose against this idea and rather state that there has to be the assertion of free and fair election. The duty of the civil society organization has to assert free and fair election away from the muscle power of Tingnuimi, which we used to call, or Namsipay, who are more or less considered as the freedom fighter of the community. And the role of Kuki in Manipur would be the formation of the newly Kuki political party, which is Kuki People's Alliance, formed in 2022 only. Under them, there were two candidates who elected under KPA, and both of them won the election. And the executive of the Kuki in Manipur, Kuki People's Alliance, when we look at it, there's two executives from Kuki in Manipur who went to form the party. So that is their role. And when we come to Namsipay, we also call it as Tingnoimi. Tingnoimi means people who are in the jungle. This is from during the 1980s when several states in India, such as Mizoram or Manipur, recently got their statehood. The Kuki people also tried to achieve statehood through Kuki National Assembly, but this peace settlement for statehood doesn't work. So some of the leaders formed an armed wing under Mr. Letnedun Kipgen, which was called Kuki National Front. And time went by. Instead of staying in the jungle or in the forest, they started to settle in the urban areas, living their lavish life, and disturb the peace of the people, of their people itself. So their main and basic aim is distorted away, and now they began to get involved in the electoral politics, which is highly debatable, and which is highly unethical, and which is highly poisonous for the people. And their role in electoral politics is very high. They will usually give threats in favor of a candidate to the houses, who are the chief, and to the commoners. Whoever didn't vote for this or that candidate need to leave their village, or might met with an end. So this is usually the scenario of Kuki electoral politics in Manipur. And Phungletsang, which is to me esteemed to be the highest institution where people are divided. As the Kuki are highly divided based on Phungletsang, which is a clan and sub-clan. So even the Namsipui, they are based on Phungletsang. So suppose a Haukip, I am Haukip, and some other would be non-Haukip. In a Haukip inhabited area, the non-Haukip will never be elected as a representative, even though he or she might be better and more educated, and or in any sphere better than the Haukip candidate. So there is the reality in there. Let's move to the next part. As we have already dealt with the 5 institutions which are highly active and difficult to change in the Kuki society. In the general, in the by-election 2020, the role of social media is highly appreciated, and this role is more or less introduced by one candidate, I should say, Dr. Lam Tintang Hokip, who was the former president of KSO Delhi and NCR, and he completed his PhD in Delhi University Anthropology Department. He, along with some of his friends, asserted Youth for Change, the importance of youth for the change in Kuki society. So during the 2020 by-election, he stand for the candidate in situ, but he lost. Although he lost, his assertion to the public that stating about the problems of the society, the involvement of Namsipai and all those other 5 institutions in the Kuki society, which took away the people's right to vote. This has been highly asserted from him, and people really consider him as a social reformer. But they are not still fully free from the fear of Namsipai. We have already seen a failure through Dr. Lam Tinhang Hokip, but this is about a successful candidate named Paulinal Hokip, who worked in the Lok Sabha in Delhi. and went back home in 2022 to stand in the general election. Uh, his first move was to creating as a WhatsApp group, Win of Chance Deliverance, where I am a part of that WhatsApp group. And he, along with his supporter, initiated Tapkong Haulim, which literally means informal discussion. And we had two Tapkong Haulim session in Delhi, and then his main focus would be about the lack of people representatives in the assembly. And all these Tapkung Holi Martelekas on Facebook and YouTube channel, where people get to know his ideas and support him in the election. So ultimately, he was elected as the people representative through the stronghold of social media. And as his promise, as he had already promised when he was elected, he set up his office in his own constituency, which was never done by any Kuki people's representatives. And if we see the present situation in Manipur, there is high contestation between the Kuki, all the tribals, and the mainland people who try more or less to this would be a very political term, to encroach tribals' land. So he is the one raising his voice in support or to stand with the people. And coming to the conclusion, I think my time would be ending soon. Social media as a platform in the present days where we can see it is a platform to raise violence, is, as we have seen in, during the CA times, where people till now, some of them have been arrested due to due to their propagandas inciting violence. But at the same time, it is also a good platform for peace and harmony. And in this peace and harmony is but it has a very little momentum. Yes, if I can say from the from my field area, which is in Manipur, if we look at the Facebook comments and all, there is very little or there's very few people who would talk about peace and harmony within the communities in Manipur. So the evil side of social media in violence, peace and harmony, the greater would be in violence side, I would say. And this social media also gives a platform for change to the Koki people, a chance which is still in progress erected by, I should say, Dr. Lam Tintang Haukip among the Kuki society. This sense, perhaps it can bring about a social justice to the value and institution, which we have already talked about, the 5 institutions among the Kuki society, at balance, not to harm or not to distort or not to take away the rights of the people, rather give them a democratic space for electing good leadership. Thank you for the time. My time ends here.
Thank you, Sankong, for particularly, having taken exactly the time frame that we had allocated, and particularly also for offering a story of high hopes that how positively social media could be used, particularly for opening up of new kind of social change, progress, and particularly also in terms of democratization of the polity that we talk about. With your own engagement and particularly the kind of changes coming from the youth from within the Kuki community, one can see that there are enough actually potency that social media can be made use of for opening up of new arenas in terms of our social, political, and cultural lives. So now the floor is open for discussion, queries, and any kind of clarification.
Tila, can you complete all the presentations first, and then we can have discussion? I think that will be more convenient.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we'll have discussion session at the end of the three presentations.
Okay, okay, yeah. So it's my pleasure to welcome the second presentation by Kamkungwa Chongoloy, who will be speaking on digital liminality in the Indo-Myanmar border, and she's from JNU. So welcome, and over now to Chongloy.
Chongloy, are you there?
I don't think he is here, sir.
He's not there?
Yeah, I don't see him.
Okay, then shall we switch over to the third presenter? Then if in between, if
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm here. Can I present my paper?
Yeah, yeah, please, please.
Yeah, it's me here. I'm here.
Yeah, just to introduce that Mercy Kipeng is from Department of Anthropology, Delhi University, and she will be also continuing the discussion on one of the aspects of the Kuki community. So this is on situating the Kuki in the digital era and making use of Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So now it's over to Kip Kang.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I like to share my screen.
please make it full screen. Yes. Okay.
Yes. I'm facing a problem sharing my screen. Please, can I take a moment, please?
Yeah, yeah, please.
It's not
It
working.
is coming blank. Could you please do it again? Just unshare. Just unshare.
Sorry, sir, it's not working. Please, I like.
Okay, do one thing. You can just log out and log in again. Hope it will be solved.
If I come back. Sir, my desktop is facing a problem, so may I leave and come back?
Okay, yeah.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, now it's coming.
It's
Yeah.
coming. Okay.
Just make it full screen.
Sir, I'm not able to make it full screen. I hope it's visible enough.
No problem. You can continue. No problem. You can continue.
Sir, may I begin my presentation?
Yeah, please. Please begin.
Okay. A very good morning, everyone, and thank you for your patience. I'd like to thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity to present my paper here today. To introduce myself, I'm Mercy Kibyan. I'm pursuing my MPhil in Media and Culture from the Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. I'll be presenting my paper on situating the cookie in the digital era with special reference to new media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As you can see on the screen, I have put up a question stating, will technology tax over book? This was the question that led me to understand and study media in a very in-depth manner. It was because in my society and my parents believed that a child or a person who is too involved in internet or in kinds of media can demoralize their nature or divert them from their minds from the reality or the pattern of life that they have practiced or expected them to be. This was the question put forward to me by one of my professors in her lecture, Visualizing Fieldwork, Digital Storytelling, under the supervision of my supervisor, Dr. Abhijoli Jimo. The layout of my study will consist of white media anthropology and a short understanding on the Kuki people. And my main methodology will consist of virtual ethnography. And I will try to comprehend representation and understand anthropology and new media. And the main sections of my presentation will be new media and the Kuki, which will be followed by a short summary and conclusion. As we can see, the primary goals of my paper is to embrace new media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, to understand the impact and influence of new media among the Kuki people while analyzing the culture of representation. To understand this, I like to state why media anthropology need a forefront in the social science studies or in the fields of humanity. For this, I bring about the concept of Fayed Ginsberg, Tali Askew, Jean Baldry, and Solworth. Here, Fayed stated that media reception occurs beyond the living room and media production beyond the studio, not only because it occurs in places like Amazonian forest or the Australian outback, because media is the set of daily practices and discourses through which complex acts in itself is constituted. While Galiascus understand media anthropology as an approach that is ethnographically informed, historically grounded, and context-sensitive analysis of how people use and make sense of media technology, and which can be followed by gene understandings of media anthropology, and not just media anthropology, but an overall media studies is that in the postmodernist society, which is dominated by computer, television, and social media, it has moved into a new reality or a real object of event, where we can say that relationship has changed over time. And the systems of or binary regulations where can be reduced to an absence of a binary code. This all their understanding can be combined, and the importance of media anthropology can be looked deeper with what Solwart stated that we should understand media messages by studying the social cultural context in which it occurs. So to analyze this, so we can say that media deals with the issue related to media representation and the shaping of social and cultural values within society. The essence of media is that it highlights the process of media production, consumption, integration, power roles, attacks, and cross-cultural and transnational influence of media. Actually, media anthropology contributes towards reconceptualizing and imagining relationship with media in the global age. Moving to the next, the area of my study, the universe of my study falls in the northeastern part of India, where the cookies are found in predominant. I took up Assam, Manipur, and Nagaland as one of my main universe. And to understand why I chose the cookie and why the cookie, because the cookie are indigenous people with dynamic characteristics of demographic, versatile, economic, ecology, social, cultural, and political system. They have this distinctive social institution which surrounds around the Tuchar Sangha Vichar institution. The cookie functionalism and uniqueness that set them apart from others come through the moral institution they practice, which we call and we know it as control. It is an institution that covers society's whole obligations regarding the economy, politics, religion, morality, community, and culture. The main methodology of my paper today is virtual ethnography. Here, we can state that virtual is something that encompasses the new fractions of our cultural phenomena. And as to understand ethnography, we can say that ethnography is not a prescribed set of method. It is a methodology that acknowledges the complexities of human experiences and need to research it by close and sustained observations by human behavior. In my paper, the study employs Christian hints, eruditions of ethnography through in and off the internet. In order to understand this paper and to carry out this paper, I like to state that it is an adaptive and connective approach that where I took online sites remarkably as a place for social interaction and seeks to follow the thread of meaning making, both offline and online, where this interaction makes sense to all the participants. Virtual ethnography has indeed helped me immensely towards completing the study amid the first wave of pandemic and the second wave of pandemic. And also during this phase, I was diagnosed with neurological problem. So in this phase, the impact of media on people become easily understandable to me with the accessibility that people have on the internet. The actions was followed, the study was followed, followed researching for media pages and channels, finding prospective media person influences, where I also utilized circulation of questionnaires among 100 participants and interviewing 15 media persons from content creators, influencers, directors, and important media persons. And between this, I utilizes participant observation and face-to-face interview between the first wave of pandemic and second wave of pandemic to the participants who were not able, who find it difficult to communicate it through online. And within these 2 months, I was able to visit Nagaland and Assam to complete my study. Coming to the main sections of my paper, we can just is comprehending anthropology. I believe every one of us knows that When we talk about representation, we always set this point that representations matter because representation in any form carries a diverse range of meaning and interpretation. And in anthropology, representation of media covers a wide range of diversity. It is inclusive in our sphere and allows the development of societies in all platforms. Here, as you can see on my screen, I have put up that representations are carried out through the culture, thought, and practices, that is text, arts, pictures, music, dress, and the like. Representation is making the present, speaking for and standing in for representation of words and representation of things. To understand this, I brought up the understanding of Hall and his understandings on semantic, language, and meaning making, as well as power structures from Ferdinand Saussure and Michael Foucault. Hall theories and approach on representation actually talk about the ideas and approaches that produces meaning for language and its interpretation. Under his approach, I utilize constructionist approach of Hall, where he brings forward Ferdinand Saussure's comprehension of semiotic and Michael Foucault understandings of power, knowledge, and the subject question as a system of representation. In what this, the differences, or let's say the crucial differences, is that Ferdinand Saussure's semiotic can be understood as how of representation, while those of Michael Foucault's can be understood in the form where we can understand effect and consequences of representation. Moreover, in media anthropology, the understandings of self-representation among the indigenous people have been followed and talked about whenever we go through media studies. So here, in order to understand that, I brought forward Terence Turner understanding of representation, self-representation, while he was walking among the Kayapo. Here, Terence Turner stated that the indigenous tribe utilized media as a social and political document for self-representation and understands the objectification created through media. To follow up with, I like the anthropology and new media. We know that connectivity is becoming affordable and practical in a very tangible way. As Smith and Cohen stated that identity is becoming a valuable commodity. Representation in our form is actually very accessible, presenting the reality of things has also become easy due to the many forces that guide one, differentiation, and the need for authentic and actual case studies. So here, Leibniz, in his understanding of new media, bring out the term metamedia, where form and contents are the new concept and new form of understanding new media, where his studies of Instagram put up this definition as society of aesthetically sophisticated consumer goods and services, and society where the productions of beautiful images, interface, objects, and experiences are central to its economic and social functioning, as well as the identities of millions of people. Following which, we all understand that new media is a new form of mediation among the public, and especially among the Kuki people. It centers not only as a technological thing that we can isolate as a distinctive entity. The relationship among media practices and the process of mediation, for which Charles Harkin said that new media bears the promise of universal political influence in the form of essays. The term by this project of democratic impressions are reimagined and re-engineered. And here, coming to the main part of our paper today, is new media and the Kuki. Under this, there are 4 subtopics. First of all, the subtopics I put forward is glimpse of the Kuki women in new media. At the new media among the Kuki is a recent phenomena, but like everyone, they caught up to this opportunity to mobilize themselves and their surroundings. To study it again, the study circles around new media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And here through the study, I observed that social media has played a massive role in mobilizing the cookie society. Like circulation of information and awareness from media among the youth as well as among the adults were very huge. In all the studies, to combine it, we can say that Facebook creates collaborative community group or a page that brings the largest audience to what the needs of happening in their society. While Instagram has proven to empower the individual growth and stimulation, and YouTube is one of the prominent social sites among the cookie society. Moving forward, with glimpse of the cookie women in new media, I like to state that the cookie women, since time immemorial, continue to hold a prominent place in the family and also in the society. For instance, the Tucha Sangha Becha relationship actually centralized the women. And there is an all-age traditions where this is celebrated for the abundance of harvest, which is known as Changai, and they centralize around women, and women is the lead on this. They were honored, but in a very different domain. In the 21st century, there are still formidable places and practices where women continue to fight for their rights and honor within the periphery and out of the society. Through this, media has drawn me closer and deeper to who they are, past the societal norm, institutions, and role. I began to know that the power, strength, wisdom, and support of cookie women's roles and identity was more evident and recognized. On no less, it became more evident and recognized through the increasing media outreach. One of the most recommendable and highly influential plays among the cookie is the Runaway Nagaland. It is an all-women artisans, weaver, and craftsman brand. With the motto engaging to promote women's and made in Nagaland brand, it focuses on using locally available material and utilizing their skills in promoting all tradition of indigenous arts and techniques. Which come with a touch of modernity and contemporary style without losing the essence of the real. Here, while interviewing them through online mode, I came to know that the women here comprises mainly of financially unstable women, widows, single mothers, dropout school children, or women and girls from backward villages with no educational background. This is, I will say that it is the Runaway Nagaland phase is a testimony of transformation in the lives of many women and has given them dignity, hope, and self-respect. And we can understand what media and rightful representation in media can bring a change in the lives of people. And followed by PP Talks is a YouTube channel. Here, she is a 24 years old woman residing in Nagaland. And she rationalizes that media in the digital world is so accessible that she termed it as something, a platform to learn, to grow, and to uplift and empower, as well as motivate and represent her identity as an individual and as a part of the society. She termed her stand as something to be standing on fit. Followed by Cookie Women Center Facebook page is the All Women Union, which emphasizes on women empowerment, financial independence, and fight for violence, championing human rights, and rehabilitating refugees, drug addicts, and HIV among the cookies. However, the women involvement in new media is relatively low and slow as compared to all the studies that I find and I acknowledge, because their involvement and participation is so much more outside of the new media. Like it's so much evidence in print media, electronic media, and broadcasting media. The following. The next subtopic is exploring and curating the same. Here, not taking much time, I'll just talk about what this YouTube channels like Anamsem Network has did for the society and tribal wood productions. As you can see that I have put out Thadokuki dialects and Whitetail dialect. It is because while carrying out this study, I came to realize that another medium to represent the self is the use of vernacular dialect. And as I put it, how my unit stated and pointing out that one cannot separate language from culture, and it constitutes a powerful way to state their identity. And in this manner, Kanamza Network, one of its main production in YouTube channel was the movie The Cookie Black Day. It is a movie released in YouTube. It gave us an actual glimpse of the massacre of Jopi and Jalantai back in 1993, which led to the loss of life, land, property, and forced displacement. And here, this film was carried out and brought out to the viewer through the eye of the survivor. And following with tribal production is a Whitetail dialect channel that is based on Kuki Whitetail dialect. And here the producers and the content creators focus on society, culture, morality, religion, and spiritual, and with public social relations. As you can see here, I put it up that live telecast of events like Chavangput, Hun, Nimput, or any other festival occasions in new media are actually produced and managed by the tribal people themselves because they know where to suit with important sections of the event need more focus. So exploring and portraying the self on their own becomes an integral part of representing themselves in the new media. From all this, we can say that representation works as much as show the unseen as show what it is. Representation is a very complex business when dealing with sameness and differences. It engages our feeling, it engages our attitude and emotion. And here new media have been able to mobilize concerns in the viewer at a deeper level, and then we can explain that we cannot explain in a very common and a very simple way. Moving fast forward, here as I have put out some of the key issues and events and incidents where new media contributed to what representation on the right side of my screen. I hope that everyone sort of believe that how small it may be, every object represents women power and knowledge, eventually showing us the superiority that a human holds. Through these powers and the people, I like to say that the Kuki new media users and administration usually form a community for tribal empowerment, cultural preservation, sustainable development, gender equality, and fight for their human rights. The Kuki indigenous peoples see new media as an essential part of their struggle to sustain and defend their society, land, and environment. I also noticed that the Kuki sees video, any kind of video or new media, as a part of reaching out, presenting their culture and way of life in a form that others can understand, support, and respect, and know who they are. This is the last subsection of my papers for what understanding new media and the Kuki. Here the title is the missing and the new media. We can put it as the lost media and the new media. Here, as I put it after, the representation of transient event in a medium such as video for the capacity to fix an event image and store it permanently. The Kayapo use media for self-documentation, for education, and as a repository for cultural knowledge, again, losses from that and acculturation. In the same manner, the present Kuki peoples in their new media, as like in Instagram pages like Pink Kuki, Kuki Media, the Joe people, the Zelengro, Tunghamu, Kuki people, and YouTube channels such as Lamhil Kuki Cultural Research Center, Bombay media, the Kukilan media, Joe Heritage, and the Lengam media have picked up new media as a platform to research and to rediscover, to revive, to reinvent and rememorize the past for learning and self-determination. Because the reasons, as they stated through the interview, they stated that they utilize media in this manner is not to fully incorporate the practices and beliefs, but to preserve and harness them toward discovering and manifesting the Kuki identity in and beyond the dynamic. And in anthropology, we learned that anthropology forgoes from conventional to contemporary in its pursuit of understanding human relationships. It courses to infer the holistic natures of human life and role, thrive and emulate the essence of the society. And coming to the last second part of my presentation is the summary. From all the stages, we can understand what Castenberg discusses in identity, because he stated that identity matters both in terms of social and political concern within the contemporary world and within academic discourses, where identity is conceptually crucial in offering explanation of social and cultural change. It is the interference between subjective position and social and cultural situation. Identity gives us an idea of who we are, how we relate to others and the world. It marks how we are the same as others who serve that position and different from those who do not. And understanding the whole idea of the presentation was based on representations and new media. So here, the system of representations, we observe that the production of meaning within the language and the concept must have form substance for people, even fundamental concept that enable us to think about things like visual images and music. New media has furthered the power and knowledge of the Kuki people through trying to relinquish and scatter bonds from different parts of the world, empowering and cementing the relationship and belongingness. We have viewers through the study, I also came to conclude that a big comprises significant Kuki population that raise the impact and domination regarding representation and reflexivity and impact their society. It is also recorded that Instagram is the most recommended and expected this scrolling media for gaining authentic information and gaining recognition due to its massive representation of identity. YouTube channelize culture, determination, and socialization and impart diverse knowledge, contribute to mobilization and stimulation of the population. It gives voice to the people, changing the continuing the ideas of socialist belief. So in all this, I'd like to conclude that the new media is a medium that has rightly expressed the identity statement of sameness and differences. Identity in the media provides people with a sense of belongingness and difference. It empowers us. It is a source of safety and security for the Kuki people. I attempt to point out that ethnographic pivot can be meaningfully applied to computer-mediated interaction because long-standing and effective methodologies should not be neglected if our pursuit for knowledge is to be holistic and meaningful for mankind. The digital access is strengthened the ethnic representation, self-determination. It has induced changes and continuity, acceptance, adoption, and better ways of decision and policy making. Representation of identity in media is not just about rights and values, sharing information or creating awareness. However, it's about the mechanism and the process. It helps us to formulate and also generalize the experience that goes on creating meaning. Everyday media continue to influence and enhance the society that need information and is growing on relying on the internet for our daily basic needs from time to time. Therefore, cultural and social aspects of media need attention. Thank you so much. I hope I haven't taken too much of my time, and thank you so much for being so patient.
Thank you, Mercy, for your deeper clear understanding of such an indigenous community like Kuki, and particularly with regard to how, particularly through the virtual ethnography, or one can talk about the use of new media the community concern could be understood, analyzed, and interpreted in so different ways from what it used to be earlier, like the conventional way of understanding communities. One can think about the continuation of the concerns raised by Saikong Ham, particularly in terms of the democratization of this space, particularly through the use of new media, and how new media could also be an enabling way of empowerment as well as representation and identity formation among the indigenous communities like Kukis, and particularly through so many specific images, and one can talk about substantial deliberations. We come across how at least to a certain extent they have been able to think of themselves in a very different way than that used to be earlier. Also, there are a few kind of challenges that we talk about in terms of the loss of the media, the way, the kind of socialization that used to be part and parcel of the indigenous communities. The presentation by both Saikong Ham and Mercy Kipen tries to look at the positive aspects of the new media and how they are enabling in more than one way. Ashish, do we have the third presentation?
Okay.
Or we can.
Okay, let's try if it is there. Kamkunga Changloi, are you there? Changloi, are you there in the meeting? I don't think so, because there is the name is not displayed. So I think
Okay.
we can start the question answer session here.
Yeah, so thanks both Saikang Hom and Mercy for your presentations. And now it's over to participants for discussion, comments, and suggestions.
You may raise your hand.
Anybody, any kind of query?
Sir, you may ask the question.
Yeah, please, please.
If I should put forward some of your feedbacks or any ideas that we can improve our paper on this.
एक मिनट स्पीकर हेलो
Hello, yeah, Himanshi, please.
मर्सी मैम हेलो
Hello, yeah, please.
Ask a question.
yeah ma'am you are talking about Facebook cookies or either about tribal communities cookie Is it about technological cookies or anything other, ma'am?
Mercy, do you want to reply? Would you follow the question? Probably Himanshu is trying to say that the story that you presented, is it just confined to those stories coming from the internet and the new media, and to what extent it really represents the tribal communities, maybe staying interior to the region, not outside their homeland, and those who are yet to be part and parcel of the new media. I suppose that is the thrust of the question, Himanshu.
Exactly, sir. Exactly, I'm asking.
Yeah. So, Mercy, if you want to reply.
So to say, thank you for the question. The thing is that I have, yes, you said I have fully focused on the people who were staying in the northeastern part of India. Means, as you said, I haven't took over the studies of people who were outside their homeland. And so the studies have been carried out fully on the people staying in Assam, Manipur, and Nagaland. And
okay,
yes,
ma'am, you are talking about community.
the media which I took up, or the studies which bring out all the stories, were completely based on the media itself, like Facebook, Instagrams, and YouTube. I hope this answers your question.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Is there, yeah, Piyush, you may ask your question now.
Yes, good morning. I wanted to ask, like, all these concepts of representation and experience and meaning making through those experience through the new media. I wanted to ask, like, how does these new media, things like these and the coming of the new technologies, is that really limited to representation in the theory, or does that make a discernible change in the lives of people as such?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Yes, it makes a lot of difference for the Kuki people, because the place which I studied, like in Assam, for instance, in Assam, the peoples are the voice of proper rights and are also very much the voice of development. In this state, they are scattered in much different places. Like I have took up Haflong, I have took up Karbi Anglong districts, and as well as Manja, a part of Assam, for the study. Now, this new media is helping them to come together. This new media has brought them together, like the Bing Cookie media, which I have put up, actually has come up with their own Facebook pages, which bring together all the cookies from Assam, and they talked about their issues. And recently, I would say it's recently, back in 2019 and 2020, when the pandemic started, during that, it was this new media which helped them to come together and go and seek for any kind of help or providence they require from the government. And it helped them to understand the precaution they have to take up during the COVID stage, or what kind of help they can ask from the government. So yes, in this sense, though, as you say, theoretically, it's not very much found still. But however, in practically, when I utilize this concept, I find that it was very much beneficial for the cookie. I hope this answers your question.
Is there any other question?
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Please.
Sir, myself, Dr. Magan Singh from India, right, Karnal.
Please. So,
So, I wanted to ask, like, what is the significance of representation in the media? What is the significance of representation in the media?
Please.
What is the significance of representation in the media?
Please.
What is the significance of representation in the media? Sir, actually, I am not from the remote sensing or geography. I am simply from the agronomy. And I served in the Medjay Fema, Nagaland, and little bit I know about the Kuki tribes. So I want to know these things has been developed Facebook, YouTube, and other media. How this was the helpful to interacting, or how these are interlinking to them with other tribes.
Mercy, can you?
Yes, sir. I saw the question, but I could not get the main point. Excuse me, sir. Are you asking about how Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram is connected to interlink with the people, or? So I could not get your point. Can you try to reformulate for me?
Madam, your topic is totally based on the cookie, and you are giving the so many medias, different types of the like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So just these are the only confined to the only cookie, or these are interrelated to the other tribes of the Nagaland also. And my question is like that. And how this is helping to each other for communicating anything.
Sir, within the cookie community.
No. Probably the interest of Dr. Magan Singh is to see the interaction between Kukis and other tribes.
Yes. I'll try to answer this, sir. Actually, for instance, there are many. I know you may be aware that cookies are scattered all around India and as well as abroad. In this, I'll try to take the example of Facebook Cookie Women Union. Here, all these women union, they are actually in the cookie society. There are many cookie union, but it is only this cookie union which I have studied has used this Facebook to spread women empowerment, to understand human rights, and to bring about the understanding of society, and especially of what women needs, their identity, and they fight against domestic violence and drug addicts as well as HIV/AIDS positive things. So in this, I like to say that the new media has in that linked many women from outside of that, because these cookie women unions are actually based in Manipur. However, through these Facebook pages, they are able to link people from Assam, Nagaland, even from Tripura, as well as from abroad.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else on either the paper presented by Mercy or Shekong? Or maybe any other issues related to these concerns and issues?
I think there is no question further. Dr.
Okay.
Tila,
Yeah, just a brief, actually, personal query. Mercy and both Shekam can actually just have some say about. I was really curious to know about the kind of changes that we can see in terms of socialization among the new generation, given the kind of intrusion into the socio-cultural lives that is taking place and taking shape with the onset of the new media, because one can say that there has been some classic understanding about the coming up of the new media, new technology in many primitive tribes, particularly in Africa and Australia. One can say that the socialization was at stake, given that you rightly pointed out, Mercy, that it has been also one of the major sources of transformation and transfer of cultural knowledge.
Sir, I want to say something. Hello.
Yes, you can continue. Yeah, Dr. Magan Singh ji.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Actually, sir, this study is only confined in very short area, means only Kuki tribes. However, in Nagaland, there may be about 17 tribes. So if they are interacting for their improving of their quality of life and living habits and changing of the cultural practices also from Zoom cultivation to the alternative cultivation, if these media will helpful to, they will provide the employment generation as well as the income generation. So in my opinion, this is very small area because she is taking only one tribe, so that tribes are living 2 3 4 villages, not much, and confined to the two or the one or two districts only. So therefore my I want to know how they are interacting for improving their quality of life, because if you are using such type of media, you are investing more than the getting less social station or less inform, less output. So this is my submission to you, and thank you to Jen for presenting nice and giving the information. Thank you very much for organizing to organizing committee. Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for taking the discussion further. And if there is anything else,
I think there is no further question, so the chair may please uh, make his final comment.
okay, so it was my good actually fortune to be part of the seminar, and particularly coming across two deep actually stories, particularly with regard to the Kuki communities of the Northeast. It was also enlightening on many counts. I really personally thank both the presenters, Sai Kong Ham and Mercy Kipjem. And also it's my privilege to extend a vote of thanks to both the organizers, the department, and also needless to mention the valuable comments, feedback coming from the participants of the session. So I end the note with a personal thanks, and now it's over to Professor Ashish.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tila Kumar, and conducting the session nicely, and discussing the topic, and interacting with this. So I think the audience got enlightened with all a new set of knowledge, how this tribal community and the new media and their voice, how these things have been disseminated in different ways. Okay, and they are communicating with each other with this new digital technology domain. So I think everybody got some kind of feedback from that, and we would also love to hear from everybody. If you have any further questions, so you can just write it on the chat box, or you can mail to our digital geography email ID. So I think when we'll come up with a book volume on that, and we will try to incorporate all those feedback coming from you. So I think it will be enriching the whole domain knowledge, and also it will be helping us one another. So thank you, Dr. Tila Kumar, for accepting our request to be the chair of this session and conducting this particular session nicely. And thank you everybody who are presenting. Though there are two sessions going parallelly, I can actually linking between these two sessions only. I think I can see that there are almost equal number of participants. So so thank you very much. So we are stopping. We are just closing this particular session, and we will meet again with this link again at the same link at session number 6A, that is going to start at 1:45 p.m. So by the time, I'd request you to just log out from this particular system, a particular ID, and then log into the other ID which is going on, where there is a session 4B is going on. So in the same session with the same login, you will have other presentations, as well as the keynote address at 3 p.m. In the afternoon. So thank you very much, Dr. Tila Kumar, and thank you all the participants who are present and all the volunteers who are actually helping us to run this particular show. Without them, it is actually not possible. Thank you very much. So we are right now. So you are requested just to join to the other link which has been provided in the chat box. Also, you can see that. So you can join that, and we'll continue this the whole day. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all.